Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and I wanted to brief you guys on a couple things that are happening this week that I think you guys might find interesting. I read some stuff about Dave Chappelle, and I've been following to pay attention to the backlash that Dave Chappelle's been getting since he did his Netflix special, which you all know as The Closer. And as you know, Chappelle's been getting a lot of pushback, a lot of critics coming and putting the hammer down on him and offering him butter biscuits and everything else. And it looks to me like some things have changed in that whole situation, that whole dynamic. And so what I'm going to do here is, first of all, before I get started, let me know if you can hear me. Give me a yes in the chat if you can hear me. I hear you guys on Instagram are saying you cannot hear me, so I may have to turn that off. But give me a yes in the chat that you can hear me. All right, so there's no sound. Okay, all right, so I'm going to shut this down here. All right, so anyway, let me keep going here. All right, so it's in terms of Dave Chappelle. Here's what's going on. Chappelle is obviously you guys know that he did The Closer, right, on Netflix, and it was politically incorrect. He got a lot of pushback from a lot of people. So, some would say for good reasons, some would say not for good reasons, and he's been. And there was the announcement recently that he said he'd agreed to meet with the Netflix employees after there was a walkout where the Netflix employees said, we're mad, we don't like what he said, so we're going to go and protest this guy. Well, Chappelle gave a response, and I'm going to read some of this to you out of Variety, and then I'm going to give you kind of the Dr. Boyce breakdown on all of this. And so here we go. It says here on Variety, it says Dave Chappelle has spoken out about the controversy over his Netflix special, The Closer, in a new stand-up video, saying that he is willing to meet with the transgender Netflix employees or other members of that community, but won't bend to anybody's standards. In the video, Chappelle remained unapologetic about the special, which was accused of containing transphobic and homophobic remarks that led to a walkout at Netflix, saying, "I said what I said." Quote, "It's been said in the press that I was invited to speak to the," and he says trans. I'm going to try not to say that word too much because literally there's so much of a ban on free speech that if I even say that word, it'll do creepy things to the video. So it's every now and then, you guys, hope you'll understand when I skip certain words like that B word that rhymes with Maxine Waters. So let's see here. So I was invited to speak to the employees in Netflix and I refused. That is not true. If they had invited me, I would have accepted it. Although I am confused about what we would be speaking about, Chappelle said in the video. I said what I said, and boy, I heard what you said. My God, how could I not? You said you want a safe working environment at Netflix. It seems like I'm the only one who can't go to the office anymore. Chappelle claimed that the controversy was about corporate interests and that some members of that community have been supportive of him. Quote, "I want everyone in the audience to know that even though the media frames it, that it's me versus that community, that's not what it is. Do not blame the LGBTQ community for any of this shit. This has nothing to do with them. It's about corporate interests and what I can say and what I cannot say," Chappelle said. "For the record, I need you to know this. Everyone I know from the community has been loving and supporting, so I don't know what all this nonsense is about." Now, that's an interesting thing, right? That's very interesting that Chappelle is making that point, because what Dave Chappelle is doing, if you connect the dots, I'm about to give you guys the Dr. Boyce breakdown on this. And actually, that's actually the name of the podcast. So if you want to go listen to my podcast on Spotify, it's literally called the Dr. Boyce breakdown. I like breaking these things down so we can understand what's really going on. So basically, the breakdown on this whole situation, in my view, is that what Chappelle is doing is he's pulling the cover off of the difference between what the people want and what the elites want. What he's basically saying is, look, media is going to frame things in one way, but the people see things in a different way. And what Chappelle has been able to do effectively is he's been able to elevate the voice of the people. The people want free speech. The people want the ability for somebody to tell a joke and have it just be a joke, right? It's the elites that get engaged in, typically, unfortunately, the liberal elites. The conservative elites tend to screw the country over financially. They tend to support the corporate interests from a financial standpoint at the expense of the working class and things like that. That's what the conservative elites tend to do. The liberal elites engage in various forms of social engineering. That's why when your child goes to school, they come home and they may not know how to read, they may not know how to write, but they know all the pronouns, right? They know all the genders, all the different genders that are out here and the genders, right? They know all about LGBT this and Billy's got two daddies and Sally got two mamas, but they don't even know how to read and write, right? And you didn't send your child to learn how to view society. You sent your child to learn the things they need to know in order to function as an adult, to become educated in a specific way. And so effectively, what Dave is doing, in my view, is he's exposing the fact that there are people in the elite space who have for many years engaged in strategic efforts to socially engineer society in a certain way, to the point where you'll see things happening that don't make any sense to you. Like, so for example, you might say, "Guy, who in the hell thought it made sense to let a man decide to become a woman, and within 1 year he's competing in girls sports?" Who in the hell? Seriously, give me a yes or no. How many of y'all does that make sense to anybody? That I, as a man, if I decided, I don't like being Boyce, I think I want to be Joyce, and I think I'm gonna spend a year, maybe taking some hormones or something, right, so I can get rid of some of the muscles or whatever. But then after that, I'm gonna go and become a female wrestler, right? I don't care what drugs I take. I'm going to pummel with most women in the ring. It would be dangerous for a woman to physically fight me because I'm a dude, right? And so the thing is that this don't make sense to most people. Most people are like, this is not fair. We're not telling you what you can and can't do. This is stupid. What are you talking about? But when the orders come from above and they trickle that down onto society, that's how you get this stuff that doesn't make any sense. And what they do is, because the elites control the media, they engage in a propaganda strategy that Judge Joe Brown talked about when he came on this channel. One thing he said was that he studied under a Russian woman who was an expert at propaganda, because Russia's really big on propaganda. And she said one thing that they do is they will make you feel isolated. They will use media to make you think that you're the only one who thinks a certain way. And I've been up close. I have literally been the eye of the tornado on some of this. Remember, I was very close. I was 1 degree of separation from the whole Obama presidency. I knew a lot of people who sat in the same room with Barack. I never did. I lived down the street from him, but I knew a lot of people that were there, and I saw kind of what was going on. It kind of actually made me a little bit nervous. And then I remember one time when something with Lee Daniels. That's what it was. Lee Daniels and Empire. And I remember basically saying, Lee Daniels, I read his bio. He seems like a sick son of a bitch. Like, something's wrong with this man. This man should not be controlling the minds of millions of Black people. So Don Lemon invites me on to CNN to talk about Lee Daniels and Empire, right? And I'm like, why would Don Lemon invite me onto his show? Don Lemon doesn't like me. He did a whole segment on the Tom Joyner Morning Show, basically talking about the fact that he thinks I'm stupid, right? Whatever, right? It's his right. I'm not even offended by that. I know I'm smarter than him. I don't need him to confirm that. And he's too stupid to do that, right? But Don Lemon has me on, and basically the interview was a setup. He had me on, and he had 3 other people who disagreed with me. That's what you do. That's one of the games you play. So he stacked the deck. Who was another group that did that? I for 25 years, if you go back and you read the stuff I've been writing since the 90s, you can go back to 1996 and find articles that I wrote at the University of Kentucky where I said, of course, college athletes should be paid. It doesn't make any sense not to pay them. You pay construction workers, you pay airline pilots, you pay school teachers. Why wouldn't you pay college athletes? They're worth billions of dollars. And so CBS Sports had me on during the Final Four in 2006, I believe, to talk about whether or not college athletes should be paid. I did not understand that, because I said, why would you do that? That doesn't make any sense. You don't want to ask that question, because people with common sense would say, if you did the work, of course you should be paid, right? Well, what they did was, in the interview, they interviewed me for 2 hours, but they only took little clips, and they would play me saying, of course athletes should be paid. And then they would have 6 people behind me all disagreeing. And the first 2 people, like clockwork, the first 2 that disagreed with me would always be Black. So they could neutralize the racial aspect and say, look, this is not a race thing. Look, Lynn Elmore says they shouldn't be paid. Clark Kellogg says it shouldn't be paid. And then it's Mike Krzyzewski and Billy Packer and all these sports guys, right? And here's the fascinating part of this. This tells you how the whole deck is stacked. When I would do those when I did that conversation with them, every single person in that documentary saying that athletes should not be paid was making money from the athletes. Literally every single one of them was a CBS employee in many cases, or a college basketball coach like Mike Krzyzewski, who had made millions of dollars from the labor of college athletes. So of course you don't want them to be paid. So that's the game. That's the hustle. That's what I'm breaking down for you. And the reason I appreciate Dave Chappelle, and Dave, if you're watching this video, man, call me anytime, brother, because I would love to talk to you. And he's on my list. He's on my short list of people I would love to have a conversation with. But what I love about what Dave Chappelle is doing is he's making it plain for the people. He is breaking it down and basically saying very clearly that this is not what people are saying to me. This is not what's really going on. This is a picture being painted by individuals who control the media. This isn't a picture being painted by the corporate elite. And the corporate elite and what they want is very different from the people and what the people want. For example, I'll give you another example of what the difference between what the corporate elite want and what the people want. Well, right now, you see, right now, how many of you have noticed that a lot of people don't want to go to work? Right now, you're in the middle of what they call the Great Resignation. Have you heard the Great Resignation? The Great Resignation, where millions of people are not going to work. I remember going to, I went to dinner at Cheesecake Factory, and the guy told me, he said, only half the menu is available this week. And I said, well, why is only half the menu available? He said, because we cannot find workers. That's happened several times at several restaurants I've gone to. Some of you may have seen this yourself. And it's only getting worse because now they're making them get the jab, and workers are quitting because of that too. Well, why am I bringing this up? Well, a lot of workers are walking away. Well, why is that? Well, because the pay ain't shit, right? like the minimum wage should have been raised many years ago. So if I was to ask you, the people, I'm speaking to the intelligent black people in the room. Let me ask you this. Give me a vote. Give me a yes or no. Do you believe that the minimum wage should have been raised more than it's been raised over the last 20 years? Do you believe that minimum wage should be higher than it is right now? I don't know exactly what it is. Let me Google it. Hit the thumbs up button, by the way. Let me see. What is minimum wage right now? In Illinois, it's $11 an hour. What is minimum wage nationally? The national minimum wage is, let me see here. Well, I guess it looks like this is by state. I see Hawaii's 10.10, Idaho is 7.25. So I guess it must be a federal minimum wage or something of $7 or $8 an hour. So how many of you believe the minimum wage should be higher? Okay, yes, I see a lot of yeses. I don't see any nos. See, the thing is that the people have always wanted minimum wage to be higher. Even people who don't make minimum wage. I ain't gonna lie, I ain't made minimum wage since high school. I know how to make money, and I'm not ashamed of that, right? But the idea of somebody making so little money that they can't afford to pay their bills is unconscionable, right? Corporations can still make money. I know where the money's going. I understand the anatomy of the economic body of this country, and I know that the rich have been getting filthy rich, right? And they could spare some of that to pay a higher wage, right? So this whole conversation about them not being able to pay minimum wage is BS. It's just not true. Or pay a higher minimum wage. The reason minimum wage has not gone up is because the corporate elite have not wanted it to go up. Right. The reason minimum wage has not gone up is because the politicians are controlled by the corporate elite who make you believe that the country doesn't want to increase the minimum wage. Right. So Dave Chappelle, the reason Dave Chappelle is doing a huge favor for this country is on multiple folds. Number one, he is speaking up for something that America is supposed to believe in called freedom of speech. My God, why is it so hard to get it through people's thick heads that people should have the right to say what they're going to say? Stop trying to suppress other people's right to speak. Just go, claiming that, oh, I'm in danger now. Ain't nobody trying to go kick your ass or kill you just because you disagree or because you have a different belief set. Let people believe what they want to believe. Let them say what they want to say. That's what this country was supposedly founded on. Number two, Dave Chappelle is doing a tremendous service to the black man in this country. If you notice, a lot of the stands being taken by black men. If you go back to Ice Cube standing up against the Biden and the Trump administrations during the election, if you talk about Kyrie Irving and what he's dealing with the Brooklyn Nets, if you talk about Dave Chappelle and what he's doing, you notice that these are situations where black men have exerted masculine leadership in a way that the country is not able to acknowledge, is not able to understand. They get very nervous when they see black men not buckling, not shucking and jiving, not folding, not being scared, not coming back and apologizing 18 times when they know that they're right. Kyrie Irving knows that he's right. And he says, I have 180 million reasons to, or whatever the contract was, 150 million, whatever, how many millions of dollars he might lose. He said, I don't give a damn. Like, I'm standing on what I believe, period. Right. And that is about as honorable as you can be. And I respect that immensely. Even if I were to disagree with these guys, I would respect the fact that they stand up for what they believe in. And it's not like they're crazy. Every single one of those three guys I mentioned, Ice Cube, Dave Chappelle, and Kyrie Irving. Oh, and even the person as outlandish as Kanye West. All those guys have made valid points. You don't have to agree with them, but you cannot dismiss the point that they've made. For example, with Kyrie, if you go to my Instagram's the real Boyce Watkins. I posted a video today where there was a Harvard study about the impact of the jab and whether or not this is actually slowing the rate of spread of that virus. I'm not going to talk about it too much because on YouTube, you got to be careful with that conversation, right? Go to my Instagram, the real Boyce Watkins. There's a video about a Harvard study that basically puts all that into question. That basically says that Kyrie's actually right about this. Not saying that you're wrong if you disagree. It's saying that Kyrie has a point. Dave Chappelle is not out of the question. A lot of people agree with Chappelle. That's why his special on Netflix, The Closer, did so well, right? Ice Cube had a point when he came and he challenged the Biden administration, challenged the Democrats, just like Kanye did in his own way, in a separate way. It's not as if you could sit back and point to all these benefits Black people have received by being loyal to the Democratic Party. You can't find those benefits, and now they're being proven right. Joe Biden is a huge asset in proving to you right now with what they've done to you right to this point, what they're not doing for you right now, that to prove that these guys have a great point. So effectively, at the end of the day, Dave Chappelle is standing tall. From what I'm reading, he's basically saying, I'll go speak to these people, but I'm not going to be summoned by you. He's basically saying, I'm not a little boy. I'm a grown-ass man. You're not going to treat me like a little boy. And again, I told you that the number one factor with all those four men, when I mentioned Dave Chappelle, Ice Cube, Kanye West, and Kyrie Irving, the number one variable that they all have in common is that they all economically free. So do you understand, Black people? Give me a yes in the chat if you understand why I have for many, many years, for a couple of decades now, been trying to help you understand that if you become economically intelligent and economically free, and you grow and you grow some balls and stop getting scared every time white people try to threaten you, that you can be as free as you want to be, that you have the ability to stand up against all things that oppress you. You've just got to believe in yourself, and you got to have a couple assets in the bank to make sure that you and your family are good, and you got to know the meaning of the word enough. All those guys, every single one of them has lost millions of dollars because they're standing up for what they believe in, and they had to have that ability to walk away from that by saying, look, I've made a lot of money. I don't need to make more money. I don't need to be the richest guy in the room. I'm happy just being one of the rich guys in the room. And that's what is going to allow Dave Chappelle to go down in history as arguably the greatest comedian that ever lived. There is no comedian in history at this point who has made a greater commitment and greater sacrifice for the masses of Black people than what Dave Chappelle just did. He did. Doesn't mean he's not. I'm not saying I want to debate about whether he's the funniest. Sure, Eddie Murphy Raw was hilarious. Richard Pryor was extraordinary, but Richard Pryor never did anything like this. Eddie Murphy never did anything like this. Dave Chappelle, when he says he's the GOAT, he's proving that he's the GOAT. And to be the GOAT, you must transcend your profession. You must be something more than what you are. Muhammad Ali was more than a boxer. So Dave Chappelle has become more than a comedian. And he's smart enough to know how to do that. Again, I told you that him and Kanye, both of their mothers are college professors. And I think that we might be onto something. Black intelligence. That's the key. That's the secret ingredient that will make Black people great again. Okay. So anyway, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, share, subscribe button. Thank you for your donation. Carlito, quality of life and higher pay. Reason people aren't coming back. I agree with you 100%. A lot of people are not coming back because, I told you guys, I've been telling y'all about the corporate plantation for the longest. I in a way, the pandemic was kind of the best thing that ever happened to the Black community in some ways, because it allowed people to know what it's like to live life without being a slave to a corporation, right? You don't have to do that. A lot of us were introduced to that at an early age, and we thought that's the only way people live, and that's just not true. You do not have to live like that. You can actually reclaim your life, and a lot of you are doing that, and I'm extremely happy for you, because that's the way it's supposed to be. This is where I become less of a capitalist and I sound more like a Marxist. Karl Marx used to say in one of his critiques of capitalism is that capitalism takes away your meaning of life. It makes you part of this cog in a wheel where you're doing some worthless, meaningless job and you're only doing it for the money, and it's not even that much money, and then you end up wasting 100,000 hours of your life making some wealthy guy richer. Now, I'm not trying to say that the whole corporate machine should be destroyed. I don't believe that the whole economic system should be torn apart. I believe that you should still go make your money, build your businesses and all this stuff, but there's no amount of money that's more important than your quality of life. And that's where I think you can sort of get off the bus, especially if you're Black. A Black person is in extreme danger if he goes through life addicted to money. If you go through life addicted to money, that is no different from being addicted to crack. If you are addicted to money, then the people who control the money, the drug pushers who control the thing you're addicted to, will control you no different from the way a drug dealer controls a crackhead in the hood. So when a lot of times when you see guys run around here apologizing, celebrities bending and folding and saying things that don't make no sense because they're scared of losing money, they're basically playing the Squid Game or the Hunger Games or coon hunting, where basically they're almost like the crackhead Olympics, where you would make a crackhead do stupid, crazy stuff because they'll do anything to get access to the crack. Well, a lot of us as Black people for many years are accustomed to seeing other Black people buck dancing and shucking and jiving and basically doing the crackhead Olympics because we're trying to get a hold of that thing we've become addicted to. So be very careful about financial addiction, because that can actually take away your dignity and put you in a place where you and your family are humiliated, and you don't want to live like that. So again, shout out to Dave Chappelle. That was my thought for today. It looks like he's standing strong. I hope that he continues to stand strong. If there was any way I could personally support him on any of this, I would do that. I'm doing this short little video just to throw my little 2 cents in the bucket to say, go, Dave, go. We're proud of you. We support you. You're very funny, very talented, and very smart, and I have a lot of respect for the brother. So, by the way, this week, the All Black National Convention happens. There's a lot of other Black people out in our community besides the celebrities that you should know about, that you should be extremely proud of. I believe that we need Black leadership by committee. We don't need sort of one charismatic Negro sort of speaking for the whole community. We have thousands of Black leaders. We have thousands of people in the community who have expertise in their individual area. Those people should be heard as well. That's what the convention is all about. So we meet up this weekend. I'm about to get on a plane in a couple of days to take my mama down to Orlando for the convention. And we're going to meet in Orlando this Friday. So you can go to allblacknationalconvention.com. We have lawyers, we have doctors, we have health experts, we have relationship experts, we have hip hop artists, we have all kinds of people coming together for a gathering of 61 speakers that we're bringing together for this convention. It's going to be in Orlando. You can join virtually. Just go to allblacknationalconvention.com. We'd love for you to come down, though, because it's going to be a lot of fun. We're also going to give some awards to some of the people in the community who have been doing a great job. And these are the people that deserve to be celebrities, too. And, of course, you guys know we're doing speed dating, so you don't have to date cockroaches for the rest of your life. You can actually date somebody who's got some damn sense. So my wife actually came up with the idea of doing speed dating and speed networking. So we're going to do that as well. So anyway, guys, I'm out of here. Allblacknationalconvention.com is the URL you can go to. And thank you all for listening. And once again, shout out to Dave Chappelle. I love what you're doing, man. I really wish you the best, and hope those folks don't come to your house and kill you. All right, I'll talk to you later. Hit the thumbs up button on the way out. I'll talk to you guys later. Be good. Peace.